Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me here with Conversations with Taz. Let's, woo, baby. There, there is just so much to get into tonight. Uh, United States, y'all are off the chain. Y'all just coming unhinged. I have two clips back to back. Good evening, lovely. How are you? How are you? There are two clips back to back that we have to get into because this is a case that we have been following. I'm gonna play you the two clips, and then I also hold on if it'll come up. Have an article coming from AOL News to read regarding this. Yeah, yeah. Let's just get into it.
There is Casey White.
She's probably dead. Hang on, hang on. Oh, they're gonna whoop his ass, bro. She's not coming out of the car. Oh, look. That bitch is probably dead.
William 23, just to confirm, is County vehicle pursuit?
They're not currently in pursuit. I believe they're just following it. Charcoal gray Cadillac.
Through Anchor Industries.
And going through Anchor Industries, 3 Adam 6.
Just go ahead and notify ISP. If they have a question, they can call my my cell phone.
I'm clear.
Radio, clear the channel, in Anchor Industries parking lot.
Clear on in Anchor Industries parking lot.
Out. Crashed out.
Crashed out in an open field along Baumgart.
6-0, he's crashed out. We're still trying to get that vehicle.
Just want to make clear he's still inside the vehicle. Clear on he's crashed out, still inside the vehicle. No, still going to be in the vehicle. We believe we possibly have him on 911.
One, we need AMR for probably multiple AMRs, 42.
Clear on AMR, he shot himself. And we could hear her on the line saying she had her finger on the trigger. They're going to field off Baumgart and Birch. Shot victim. Female is still armed. Apparently has shot himself. Female still armed. 41, then eats on a Birch.
One law enforcement vehicle. Got two patients at this time.
Dispatch, can you advise if they need a negotiator?
Any county unit, do you need a negotiator?
Negative, we do not need a negotiator.
Two patients. One is still trapped in the vehicle at this time. We have another who's stable, alert, and oriented, who has a bullet wound grazed to the head, but it's in stable condition.
On female is out of the vehicle. You say weapon in her hand?
Longer in her hands.
Yes, since we advise the AMR if the second patient's out of the vehicle. Unresponsive at this time.
Dispatch, I need one county or somebody to make contact with Anchor Industries to have one representative come to.
Now, as I said previously, there is an article coming from AOL News. Headline reads, Sheriff, ex-jail official, inmate she helped escape, caught. Escaped inmate Casey White and former jail official Vicky White, no relation, were taken into custody Monday in Indiana, according to an Alabama sheriff. Lauderdale County Sheriff Rick Singleton said the two fugitives were caught near Evansville, Indiana, after a car chase with U.S. Marshals. Now, that's a little too close to me for my comfort, but y'all had a 6-hour head start at $95,000. Why did y'all not flee to a country that doesn't extradite? Did you learn nothing from the mafia and from the mob? But I digress. Singleton, especially since old boy is 6'9" with tons of very identifiable tattoos. But let's keep going. Singleton said at a news conference that marshals were pursuing a pickup driven by Casey White when the truck wrecked and he surrendered. Vicky White was taken to a hospital. Casey White and Vicky White are in custody, Singleton said. This has ended a very long and stressful and challenging week and a half. It ended the way we knew it would. They are in custody. The vehicle was found today in Evansville, Indiana, after U.S. Marshals received a tip Sunday that a 2006 Ford F-150 pickup truck, of course it would be a Ford F-150, was found at a car wash in the town. Why are you washing a car and you on the run? But whatever. The Marshal Service said surveillance photos showed a man who closely resembles Casey White exiting the vehicle at the car wash, officials said. She should have got out and washed the car. We had 100,000 mugshots of him, and we did not have an updated picture of her. Because co-worker says she was 57, but she looks 75. And every other picture that was out on social media or available was heavily filtered, so she should have been the one to get out. She had all this police training. Once again, ACAB. Investigators believe the pickup truck was stolen in Tennessee and then driven about 175 miles to Evansville, a law enforcement official told the Associated Press. The official could not discuss details of the investigation publicly and spoke to AP on the condition of anonymity. The Marshal Service said a warrant was issued on May 2nd for Vicky Sue White, charging her with permitting or facilitating the escape in the first degree. Federal and local law enforcement officials have also learned Casey White threatened to kill his former girlfriend and his sister in 2015 and said that he wanted police to kill him. No, you don't. The Marshal Service said. Investigators said that they have been in contact with them about the threats and taking measures to ensure their safety. Y'all still think police protect and serve? Y'all still think police can prevent crimes? Y'all still think that police officers and corrections officers and those in law enforcement on any level have this extensive training? No, they are not the FBI. They are not the Secret Service. They are not the CIA. This woman was almost 20 years in the game. If anybody should have got away scot-free with the crime, it would have been her. But how many cases have we seen? Either 23andMe registries finding out that serial killers are police officers, or police officers making the dumbest mistakes ever. Now, I know all of the tattoos that I have, except for one, I have personally designed myself with the help of the one that I didn't design myself is the only one that's been done by a different tattoo artist. Myself and this tattoo artist were friends. We would sit down and collaborate. I would start out with a sketch. He would add on to it or whatever. Or if I would explain, a vision that was beyond my skill set. I know my tattoos are highly identifiable. I know I have features that are highly identifiable. Do you think if I was on the run, if I decided to jump into criminal activity, I'm going to be the one? First of all, we're not stopping at a car wash. We're in a stolen vehicle. People don't care if it's clean or dirty. We already riding dirty. The fuck? But if I'm the most identifiable person, why would I, number one, be driving the car? Number two, be stopping at a car wash. And we know that there's certain public places that if the cameras aren't there, there are cameras that are rotating or may catch you. Y'all send me white people stuff. Oh, Lord. Hold on. I think there's a video I did not send over by accident. Okay, hold on. Let me airdrop this over real quick. And keeping with the theme of the past couple of days, because Roe v. Wade and what could possibly happen in June has been a hot topic and a hot topic of debate all over the interwebs. I found a little story for y'all. It's been utter madness. And this is coming from CNN.com. She kept her abortion private. Now this Tennessee woman says it's time to share her story. When two pink vertical lines on a pregnancy test stared back at Taylor Eshe, if I mispronounced that, my apologies. Last summer, she was contemplating her options before leaving her bathroom. On paper, Eshe, 28, and her fiance seem to be perfect candidates for parenthood, she tells CNN. Eshe is a business owner, her fiance is a lawyer, and the two own a home together in Nashville, Tennessee. But the results of a positive pregnancy test last June didn't bring the excitement they expected. They didn't feel ready or properly equipped, excuse me, to welcome a child into the world, Eshe said. So the couple made the difficult decision to get an abortion at a local clinic when Eshe was 5 weeks pregnant. On Monday evening, Eshe checked her phone after a networking event and saw a Snapchat from a friend. The post shared the news that a draft of a majority opinion from the Supreme Court published by Politico would strike down Roe v. Wade, holding of a federal constitutional right to an abortion. The opinion, which is not a final decision, would be the most consequential abortion decision in decades and transform the landscape of reproductive health in America. The final opinion isn't expected to be published until late June, and language and votes can change before its formal release. As supporters of abortion rights rallied outside the Supreme Court building Monday night, Eshe reached a breaking point, found herself in bed crying with her fiance as the couple decided to speak out about their own experience, she says. I felt like my silence was almost being complicit, as she said. And if more women had spoken up sooner, maybe we wouldn't be in this position. Maybe I wouldn't have felt so alone. And I don't want anybody to feel that way that I felt at that time. If living under a rock was a person, and this is the problem within the United States, they will give a voice to white women regardless of if they're tone deaf, willfully ignorant, if they just enjoy cognitive dissonance. Black and brown women have been telling you for years these are difficult choices. The vast majority of abortions are had by someone who already has a child and already feels overwhelmed, or there's been a change in their life where they have become disabled, or they are now suffering from something that pregnancy would be a death sentence to them. The way the United States is set up, they want us to be breeders, but they don't set us up for our children to be taken care of. They will force us to give birth, then criticize us for giving birth. And once again, certain white women have shown that until it comes at their door, they don't give a shit. They don't see it. And once again, let me say certain white women, because there are white women who get it. There are white women who are experiencing being pushed into getting pregnant and being forced in to give birth, that realize this is not for them. This is not what they want. And they get people raining down on them daily. I am not talking about them. I am talking about the uber privileged white women. This is the type of couple that you hear described on those house hunter shows. Where they're like, I'm a buddy farmer and I make art out of Q-tips and our budget is $3 million. But we can't afford to have a kid. If this couple does not feel that they are in the right place to have children. What makes you think the disabled, the lower middle class, the poor, teenagers, single individuals are ready to do this? Especially when you keep saying it takes a village, but the village never shows up. And those of us in the village that do show up, y'all criticize us from top to bottom. Y'all are quick to be like, oh, sis, if you need me, call me. But when we call, what do we get? We get y'all trying to turn our children against us. We get you denigrating us to any and everybody you come across. And before you say that I'm fucking reaching, I have lived it. Because when I made the decision to bring my children into this world, I made the promise to myself silently, and this is the first time I'm saying this out loud, to do whatever needed to be done to protect them, and that's exactly what I did. So when I called upon people who said, oh, I got your back, I'm going to help you, when I had no other options, and they were like, oh, yeah, I'm happy to help. Yeah, they were happy to grab hold of everything that I did up until that point, take credit for it, say that I ain't shit. And to this day, when my children stand up for themselves, when my children set boundaries, go, oh, you're acting like your mother, damn straight, and be fucking proud of it. Be fucking proud of it. But y'all want to help after these children are born, right? You don't want to adopt kids because you have biological children of your own. I have 4 children that I gave birth to that are living, breathing, walking around on this earth. But I promise y'all, at least twice a month, I am unofficially adopting other children. And can't nobody tell me that they ain't mine, and can't nobody tell them that they ain't mine. And I will continue to do it. I don't care if you 5 or 50. We're building a family now. Fuck the rest of this shit. There's no shame in it. There's no guilt in it. And if you think that I'm out here shaming people, go to any of my social media. Anybody who refers to me as mom, click on their profile and ask them. Ask them. Ask them. Because what I went through, what I felt, I ain't never going to let somebody else feel that. As long as I have a say. You could be 20 years older than me, but you can still be my baby. If you need me, I'm going to be here. I don't give a damn. I let go of what society is going to think of me years ago. I let go of societal norms years ago. We don't do that around here. I don't give a damn if you gay, straight, non-binary. I don't give a fuck what family you came from. I don't give a damn. If you say you need support, I'm going to be there. Now, all you forced birthers, can you say the same? So y'all can stop coming for me on TikTok, on Instagram, and everything else going, what are you doing if you're saying it's a choice? I'm supporting people in whatever choice they make. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. And you can't tell me my babies ain't my babies. I'm trying not to get a community guidelines violation. Bitch, I will fight you. I will fuck up. Y'all think I'm playing? Don't let the hair and the nails and the bouginess fool you, bitch. I will fight you in the streets over mine. You understand me? Leave my babies alone. Period, point blank. You do not want this mama bear because I will fight you in the streets and I will fight you in the courts. Don't play with me. I done got myself riled up. I'm sorry. Y'all. Oh, Lord. And my fans are upstairs in my office. And we know Sir Puppers is cray cray, so I can't go back up in my office. Hey, Dub, I'm sorry. Oh, baby, oh my lovely. I didn't mean to make you tear up. I'm sorry. I love you. Let's see. Okay, we got another one. We gonna roll this clip and we gonna come back and talk about it.
We're gonna check y'all's luggage. Okay? If there is anything in y'all's luggage, we're probably gonna find it. Okay? I'm not looking for a little bit of marijuana, but I'm pretty sure you guys as chaperones are probably gonna be disappointed in you if we find it. You guys are on a lacrosse team, correct?
Yes.
So if there is something in there that is questionable, please tell me now. Because if we find it, guess what? We're not going to be able to help you. Okay? You are in the state of Georgia. Marijuana is still illegal in the state of Georgia.
First and foremost, I don't think they needed to check their bags. I think they just wanted to see something because that's some college girls. They probably thought they was cute. They just wanted to see something. Not once they state any kind of probable cause or reasonable suspicion for checking their stuff. Not once. They even brought in dogs. What are you checking that for? You pulled them over for a traffic violation. See this? Watch out for Georgia, bro. Outside Atlanta. Watch out.
Thank you, Brittany. For those of you all that do not know, HBCU is a historically Black college or university. Lacrosse is not generally looked at as a historically Black sport. So you get pulled over for a traffic violation. The cop comes on to tell the driver what, sees that everybody on this bus is Black and immediately goes to marijuana. The devil's lettuce, Mary Jane, weed, puff puff pass. Georgia just, the South. This is why they keep saying they're going to rise again. First of all, they didn't rise in the first place because you can't call it a rise when you never won. Their rise is them reclaiming their racist roots and trying to re-own Black people because that's what they keep doing with their voter suppression laws and so forth and shit like this. Saying that their coaches and trainers would be disappointed in them. I've been pulled over for a traffic stop. Didn't need a drug sniffing dog. Now, there was one traffic stop that I had. And here's the irony. This is when I still worked in healthcare. And I worked for a doctor's office that was in a medical office building attached to a very prominent hospital in the city I lived in at that time. This is when things were starting to go paperless. I was the head of the paperless project. So I literally would work from midnight to easily 8:00 at night. And there were a handful of employees that I would pick up because they didn't have transportation and we had got relatively cool and they were giving gas money. So, bitch, I was their Uber before they had Uber. We were on our way to work. We were on the highway. I was in the lane next to the lane that I knew was going to be appearing for me to exit for us to get to work. I have night blindness. Anyone who knows me, if I have to drive and it's dark outside, I am going either just at the speed limit or maybe a mile or two under the speed limit. Not intentionally, but if I go anything over the speed limit, I really cannot adjust my eyesight for distance between myself and the next car, incoming traffic, whatever. I do better on the highway than I do on the street, especially with the LED lights. So everybody knew I was a safe bet. I'm not going to be speeding. We get pulled over on the highway. And the cop is like, oh, you're speeding. And everybody's like, how? And we're looking at her speedometer. Like, caveat, I was driving a Chevy Ventura minivan at the time, my most favorite car. Don't judge me. Judge your best friend, judge your mama, judge your daddy, judge your grandparents. Not me. I love that car, okay? It got me through a lot of stuff, and it was really, really good on the gas mileage at the time. But then this cop looked around and saw that it was nothing but minorities in my van and wanted everybody's ID. For what? If you're saying that I was speeding, that means I'm the only person that would have broken the law. Why do you need everybody else's ID? And I said, no, they don't have to give you their ID. If you're saying I did something wrong, then either give me a ticket, take me into custody, whatever. The only time you need to see an ID is to determine whether or not to tow my vehicle if there's not another licensed driver to drive my car away. No, it's not. Yes, it is. I have a brother, an older brother, that is a police officer. And I used to work with your police department regarding same-sex domestic violence. So try again. When I said that and he ran my name, he came, oh, I'm so sorry. You can go, Cops, you never know who you fucking with. Don't let this beautiful melanin fool you. I done tried to help y'all and I done tried to fix y'all. Now, fuck it. I'm gonna collapse y'all. Beat up the devil's like, well, I was talking to Daddy earlier. And he asked me, did I still partake in the devil's lettuce? And for those of y'all that don't know, my daddy is a pastor, so. Yes, I'm the pierced up, tattooed up daughter of a pastor, niece of a former pastor, granddaughter on both sides of the family of chairman of the deacon boards. 2 brothers of mine are also ministers, and I am the resident heathen that does more for the community than all of them combined, but we'll talk about it on another day. But I did have to take out a couple of my piercings because my allergies have been kicking my butt today. Only reason I put this one back in is because when I sneeze, because of where that piercing is, y'all don't laugh at me. If I sneeze or blow my nose because of where this piercing is, my nose will twitch and it feels funny. So I have to keep it in. But this will be coming out to be cleaned. And actually, I've changed this one 3 times today because I drop them in cleaners because I'm OCD. But coming from lithub.com, and before y'all think LitHub is something else, it's a literary website. Don't let my hedonism get y'all confused. We are in the police force also they're all colonizers. Like, let's not forget the origins of the police force. The police force started by tracking down and bringing back and beating, and most of the time murdering, escaped slaves. Like, let's not forget about that history. I gave that history years ago on Facebook, and people wanted to argue with me and give me pushback because they had family members that had been on the police force for 30 years. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. You short dick motherfuckers that was getting bullied in school decided to get into the police force. And yes, I know what I said previously. And I know what I'm saying currently about the police. Connect the motherfucking dots. I ain't gonna lie to y'all about nobody in my life. But here we go. Lyrical blackface. The truth about my old Kentucky home. Once again, something I've tried to tell people about for years, but people thought that I was full of shit. I mean, I just teach real history, but what would I know? Okay, Dub, you missed what I was saying. You missed what I was saying about my relative and the short dick energy of police officers. In the waning days of Reconstruction, a popular songwriter with a day job at Louisville's librarian envisioned a tribute to the 50th anniversary of Stephen Foster's birth. Why? Oh, they were white. Will S. Hayes also managed a Let me be mature about this. Let's rewind. Will S. Hayes also managed a troupe, crème de la crème of ministre, and blacked up on social occasions, but his wife would not allow him to take the group on the road. I wonder why. Hayes authored hundreds of songs, sentimental ones like You've Been a Friend to Me, 1879, which the Carter family adapted in the 20th century, and racist minstrel tunes like The Unhappy Contraband, 1865, about a Civil War era fugitive who wishes himself back in the cotton field. Who the fuck was wishing that shit? Is Candace Owens a reincarnation? Hayes' tunes represented the formerly enslaved as patently ill-equipped for freedom. Of course, it was the trope of the time. Hayes appreciated and probably envied Stephen Foster's talents. Foster would have turned 50 in 1876, and though his songs endured in popular memory, he had faded to obscurity. Promising to publish Nothing to Put a Blush Upon the Cheek of Foster's Kindred and Friends, Hayes wrote to Morrison Foster proposing a newspaper feature on his brother's life. Morrison declined. No shit, Sherlock. The origin of My Old Kentucky Home grew foggier, but not the song itself. Never the song itself. When the Civil War ended with slavery abolished amid jubilation, well, slavery wasn't abolished, but we'll go with that because we're talking about the fucking Commonwealth of Kentucky, and the United States of America keeps acting like they have 50 states when they don't. They have some states and they have some Commonwealth, and they have, never mind. Jubilation for freed people, relief for the victors, and defeat for the Confederacy. There was also relief given for the Confederacy. They were paid because they no longer had slaves. But okay, this is how we just gonna keep whitewashing history in 2022. Foster's melodies sounded in surprising new settings. Black Americans started without resources, made Herculean efforts to stabilize families, gain literacy, and establish an economic foothold. Bitch, we could already read. We just wasn't telling y'all we could read. The fuck? How do you think we were coming up with inventions while still being slaves? Great strides were made. Great strides were stolen, but all right. Yet, in a betrayal whose effect remained in sharp disparities in wealth, health, education, and housing, systems formed to contain the freedom, opportunities, and citizenship of Black Americans. A war fought to end slavery was over. It didn't end slavery. It just ended a bunch of white people. So they were like, well, we need to cut this shit out and stop. I'ma just stop because I done lost all my money. My slaves done ran away. I don't know how to do this shit, and you done killed off all the men's in my family. But I mean, it's okay because I always wanted to fucking reproduce with my daughter and my female cousins and my nieces. So I mean, thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. That's what the fuck was going on. Up to citizens of Black Americans. A war fought to end slavery was over, but white America had little appetite to ensure that the imposed peace produced racial equality. White people ain't never been concerned about racial equality. Oh my God! You were homeschooled? You were homeschooled, and then you wrote this shit. The possibility of a multiracial republic was gradually snuffed out as Southern white leaders and Northerners, let's not forget the Northerners, with the acquiescence of a larger nation, deployed mob violence and codified a system of racial control nicknamed Jim Crow. Jim Crow was in the North too. I taught about that. If y'all want me to revisit that class on Saturday, I will, but Jim Crow was nationwide. It was not just in the South. So let's skip forward a bit. My old Kentucky home adapted to a post-war nation where white controls over Black lives were simultaneously contested by a minority and enforced by a majority. And as such context, the melody had a settling effect. The Bromo Seltzer Company included it in its collection of popular songs sold in drugstores as advertising for its hangover and pain remedy. At times, it assumed a bleached white veneer. Y'all know my old Kentucky home talked about the white experience in Kentucky. It talked about the pre-Reconstruction area white experience in Kentucky. And the fact that they keep playing it specifically during the Kentucky Derby where they need dollars to sustain itself. But we have a new ad for May. Y'all know how I do. Sorry. Past couple of shows, we've had so much to pack in. I wasn't able to run the ad. Also, this week's Tastastic Tuesdays audio only podcast. You can either click the link in my bio and listen to it from its source, or go to the video just preceding this one and watch it here. But here's this month's ad, and this month we're offering free shipping. Let's go.
You lost another one.
Today, because there really is only one news story in America today. I'm sure you've heard about the leaked Supreme Court.
Excuse me, James, but that's not the only story that we need to be talking about. No doubt that that's an important issue that we need to be discussing, but we also need to be discussing something that was groundbreaking that happened in a court in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The 3 surviving victims of the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921 filed a lawsuit against the city of Tulsa and others for their participation in the massacre. Some may wonder why the city of Tulsa is being sued for the massacre. On May 31st and June 1st of 1921, white citizens went into Greenwood District, which was also known as the Black Wall Street because it was one of the wealthiest black communities in America at the time, and terrorized the black residents in that area. They killed upward of 300 black residents, hospitalized about 6,000, and left about 10,000 residents homeless. And in the process, they destroyed their homes and businesses. They left the place in ruins. So you wonder why the city of Tulsa is being sued for the actions of the white residents of that city. The reason the city is being sued is because they armed some of those terrorists in order to attack the black residents. The city of Tulsa is fighting back vehemently against these 3 remaining survivors, who are 101-year-old Hughes Van Ellis, as well as Viola Fletcher and Leslie Benningfeld Randall, who are both 107 years old. The hearing that just took place was a hearing on the city of Tulsa and the other defendants' motion to dismiss the lawsuit, something they previously won in the past lawsuits filed against them regarding this same massacre. The current lawsuit was filed about a year ago, and last week the judge heard a motion to dismiss the case filed by City of Tulsa and denied that motion. This is monumental in a case like this because now the plaintiffs get to conduct discovery, which means they get to gather new additional evidence to expose more of the truth of what happened during that massacre. These victims have been asking for that evidence for over 20 years in various lawsuits. All have been dismissed except for this one. The government has fought tooth and nail not to provide that evidence or provide the surviving victims with any restitution whatsoever. The arguments that the city of Tulsa and the other defendants have made to prevent the survivors of the massacre from getting restitution is that the massacre happened too long ago, so the city shouldn't be held responsible, even though the survivors who are suing were alive at the time the massacre happened and suffered direct harm due to the city arming the terrorists that attacked them. The ruling last week has now cleared the path for these remaining survivors to take those responsible to trial. By the way, Mother Fletcher, as she goes by, turns 108 years old on Tuesday, May 10th.
Let's peel back the layers of this story. When people go, there's nobody still alive when blah, blah, blah happened. Yes, they are. Just like when they say, you don't know a slave. The slave weren't alive in your lifetime. If you ever watched Eartha Kitt on TV or on the silver screen, as they say, you watched a slave. You know a slave. You were a fan of a slave. She has a very famous interview that I do believe is still available on YouTube, where she talks about being praised for her cotton picking abilities. She was the product of a slave master raping a slave and then becoming a slave on said plantation and then being sent away. Eartha Kitt. There were other slaves that were not freed until the 1960s. They had no idea that the parameters of slavery had been changed because slavery has yet to be abolished in the United States. The parameters of slavery was simply changed. There were slaves that were lied to, hence the Juneteenth celebration. There were slaves that were also lied to past that thought that if they left the plantation, they would have no life. So they remain uneducated and working for minuscule dollars that they subsequently had to pay back in rent, etc., to the plantation owners. So when people go, oh, this isn't my fault, this isn't my generation, this isn't my parents. Yes, it was. And the Tulsa Massacre was a part of what's called the Red Summer. Feel free to Google it. Because during the Red Summer, there was an incident that happened in a particular city where Henry Fonda, the father of Jane Fonda, witnessed horrific acts of racism that made him fervently anti-racist for the duration of his life, and he also instilled that into his children. This is why there are certain films that were blockbusters that people always like, why wasn't he in it? He was such a great actor, because that shit was racist. And he knew it and he recognized it, and he would differentiate himself from that. Why do you think his daughter went on to become such an infamous, radical accomplice to marginalized individuals? You know, seeing Black people set up and targeted and murdered and literally drugged through the street behind cars and strung up in trees like strange fruit. Yeah, it will change you. But see, white people have this ability that black people don't. Black people are put into a monolith. And we're raised under this monolith that you don't just represent yourself, because I was raised under the guise of you don't live to yourself and you don't die to yourself. So watch what you do. How many white people can say that that's what happened? White people can easily say, "Oh, that's not me. We don't claim her." Black people can't say that, because when we do, we're criticized for that. We're like, no, people are like, no, that's a part of your community. But nobody gives that pushback to white people, especially white women. Think I'm lying? Look at the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. There was no evidence, no proof, no nothing. Johnny had walked around for years with scratches and bruises that were evident. He did a whole movie where they had to CGI out his bandages. And that same company, knowing what happened to him, still fired him because this woman came out and cried. She lied to different organizations promising, "Oh, I'm going to donate what I asked for in my divorce to you and just prop me up on a pedestal and I'll give you." And she never did. And she never will. She had a long history of police reports of abusing other people. She knew that there were surveillance cameras at the penthouse that Johnny owned and they stayed in together. But because she cried, everybody was like, cancel Johnny Depp. A black man was murdered, brutally murdered by his white girlfriend because she cried and said, "I had a mental collapse." She was put on a 72-hour hold, got out. And before she said she had a mental collapse, she's sitting there loving on her dog and everything. She leaves and goes to the bar with her father. No repercussions. None. And now, because white women's reproductive rights are now being snatched away because there was an 8% decrease in the birth of white babies. And there was a study that came out in 2021 saying that in classrooms, white children are now becoming the minority. They're trying to force y'all to give birth. And what are y'all doing? Trying to push us to the forefront once again so we can use our skills, our networks, our bodies, and our faces to get justice for you. But like I said on TikTok, where were you when Tatiana died? Where were you when Sandra died? Where were you when Brianna died? Where were you when Asada had to flee to Cuba? Where were you when Angela needed funds for her defense? This ain't High School Musical. We're not all in this together. Because even in that decision, the pre-decision, they will still give my black ass, my indigenous brothers and sisters, well, my indigenous sisters and non-binary folks and trans individuals, my Asian sisters, non-binaries, and trans folks. Get where I'm going? Sterilization and abortions. They're looking at you as breeders. There was a video that came out, and I didn't want to play it tonight because I would have got all of the community guidelines violations from my reaction to that video. There was a firefighter, a fireman. And I generally stand behind firemen because I know a ton of them. And the ones that I know are generally upstanding individuals and work with upstanding individuals who say it with his whole chest. It's not your decision, it's mine. It's not your body, it's mine. You will have my child. They know what they're doing. This is why white men have said over the years that it is their God-given right to take their daughter's virginity. Before you come at me, I've heard it myself out of white men's mouth. This is why white men will say, if they're old enough to bleed, they're old enough to breed. And ladies, we know how early a young lady's menstrual cycle can happen. This is why they're reducing and lowering or eliminating the minimum age to get married. Because once these men groom these girls, and there have been several medical-based shows over the years that have put a spotlight on these old men buying, grooming, manipulating, strong-arming families into getting these girls specifically for continuing their line, their legacy, because that's what's important to them. But white women keep accepting, sleeping with, marrying, and creating the toxic men that don't give a damn about anybody else but other cisgendered, straight, Protestant religion following white men. Because even the KKK hates Catholics, and Catholics are also Christian. This is why so many white supremacists try to separate Catholicism from Christianity, because they're not taught that Catholicism is Christian. One, two, three, four. Okay. There are 4 stories that I wasn't able to get to tonight. My apologies. Please, those of you all that love to DM and send me stuff, anything that's pressing, please don't send it the next couple days. What we didn't get to tonight, I will get into tomorrow get into it with Taz and Chris. And whatever we can't capture, as always, I will start off Freeform Fridays. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, Freeform Fridays with it. And then get into the blind reacts. And I say that because do keep in mind this Thursday is a monthly men's chat. So that's what we're going to do. But as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. Thank you so much. And I'm humbled for you joining me. If you enjoyed the broadcast, please share it with friends, families, neighbors, whatever. And be sure to click the subscribe button and hit the bell so that you are alerted anytime I post a video, because there are some pre-recorded videos that I do post, and my Tastastic Tuesday podcast will come on here and you'll be made aware. But until tomorrow.